And who do you have in the co-main event with Dariush and Tony Ferguson?
I'm a Tony rider. I've always been that way. I've put on him the past two fights. Obviously, hasn't gotten to where it needs to be, but
Sure.
after, I mean, I'm still gonna ride with Tony. I do think it's obviously a tough matchup. I was listening to obviously your take as well, and Beneil anywhere it goes is good, but Beneil tends to have some of those fights where if he does get hit, he just goes completely crazy and doesn't settle down, and then ends up getting clipped again. So, I mean, if Tony can land a slick elbow in there, or can land a straight punch, or things
Yep.
along those lines, I think it could be an early night for Beneil. But I think if it goes obviously longer than the first round and a half, who knows? I think personally that's a pick 'em fight too, especially Beneil's really hot right now. That's just kind of that's my take on that. I just I think that's also a pick 'em. We don't know where Tony's mindset is, but like we said, the crowd's a different animal, especially for all these guys after not fighting with a crowd for a while. And
For
I
sure.
think that the crowd is going to lean more on Tony's side. He's a fan favorite, always has been, great fighter, always puts on a show. And so I think Tony can feed off the crowd, and I think that obviously could help him.
I wish this fight was 5 rounds. I think it being 3 rounds favors Dariush because Tony has this. Obviously in his not his last two fights, but you can't just say, oh, Tony has these issues because his last two fights. He has an entire body of work that I'm basing this opinion off of. Tony's a dog, man. Tony's a guy that's very rare. Maybe a Neil Magny, but even so, with Tony Ferguson, as the fight goes on, he gets better in the fourth and fifth round. So those first three, he's still fucking warming up, man. So I wish it was 5 rounds because I think we'd get the best out of both guys. But for Dariush, the thing that is alarming for me with this fight, if you are a Tony Ferguson fan, which you are, is Tony in every fight, for the longest time, Tony gets hit. The problem with that is I think, you know, he does get hit, but when you get hit by a guy like Dariush, he has that knockout power, man. He has fucking power in his hands, and he'll trade three of Tony's for one of his. And he likes to fight in that phone booth and knock guys out. So that's alarming if you're a Tony Ferguson fan. The other thing is if this fight does go to the ground, which it probably will, if it goes to the ground, I don't know if a lot of people know this, is Dariush is a better jiu-jitsu player. As far as straight jiu-jitsu, if we're talking about fundamentals of jiu-jitsu and coming up in the ranks, Dariush is actually a better jiu-jitsu player. So, I think Tony's more dangerous in the transitions with his darts and his anacondas. The chance of him catching Dariush is not good. I'm talking fucking high level jiu-jitsu player, man, world class. So, if it goes to the ground, I think it's a major advantage for Dariush, which is rare for Tony Ferguson. Now, Tony's definitely a better wrestler, so if he wants to get him down, it's gonna be interesting with Tony on top of Dariush. But this fight is fascinating to me, man. Again, to your point, this is another pickup.
And I agree, but Tony in transitions too, he's very good at transitions, and he
The
can
best, I would say, the best,
get out of
probably the
it. And
best in
that's the
transition.
thing.
Yeah.
I think Tony needs to keep it on the feet personally to win it. I mean, if what happened, if I don't think Dariush is going to do anything of what Charles Oliveira did to him, but I think obviously Tony's best chance to win this one maybe would be even the clinch on the fence, throwing some elbows in there, and then obviously keeping it a distance and cutting him up, which is what he does very well, and he's done to a lot of his opponents. So I agree, it's a pick 'em. It's a tough fight.
Even in jiu-jitsu, which he's a black belt under Eddie Bravo, but even his fundamentals on the ground aren't, they're not, they're different. He just has that funky style, and on the feet, even his hands down, his movements different. But that's what makes Tony special. What's a little alarming to me is I hear he's working with Freddie Roach, and
Yeah, I
Freddie
saw that
Roach.
too.
Yeah, Freddie Roach is obviously going to say, "All right, dude. Well, you with your hands down, that's not what we do. Hands high." And so now you're taking the Tony out of Tony, which is what got him to the dance and is what made him one of the best 155ers of all time. So when I saw that, I know a lot of fans were like, "Oh yes, this can be great for him." When I see that, I go, "He's lost. He doesn't believe in himself," which is alarming to me, man. Whenever you see a fighter of Tony's caliber who's made it in the game so long, and he's this dog, and he does all these great things, and you can't. If you watch the film on Tony, let's say my son who's 5 goes, I want to be a fighter, and I showed him the videos and the fights of Tony Ferguson. I can't take him anywhere. I can't teach him myself to fight like Tony. Tony is Tony, man, and he's very, very special, and that's what got him this far. But now that he's with Freddie, well, Freddie comes from a completely different background. He's going to have him trying these fundamentals, hands up, high and tight. I don't like it. I got to be honest. I don't like it.
Well, also, everybody says when you're going to work with, obviously, a strictly boxing trainer, the leg kicks and the leg movement. For example, what we saw with Conor and Poirier, beat that leg up. So obviously his movement might be switched up. You never know what's going to happen on that front. But from what I do know, from what I've seen, at least on social media only, is it seems like he's hanging out obviously with a different group with a lot of wild card guys. Maybe he's changing things up, which for Tony, he's always stuck to Tony. And so we don't know how that's going to play out. We're going to find out this weekend, but
to be honest, that makes the night easier for Dariush. If Tony comes in with a standard, traditional boxing stance and jab and high and hands back to the face, that's going to make it really easy for Dariush to win. So if that first round you see Tony high and tight, not Tony, doing his thing with the movement and, doing the cool flips and all that crazy shit that he does, I'm telling you, Tony's going to lose. If you see Tony in a traditional stance, trying to do something that he's not. You're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, and it's just not what you are, man. So you should be super alarmed if Tony comes out in a different vibe. You really should, because Dariush is like, oh, this is fucking easy work, man.
Yeah, I don't know. This big fight's for the division too. I don't know. It's
great fights,
man. That division, yeah. I mean, there's so many things that can play out in that division. That division's absolutely stacked.
I love it, man.
I don't know if the UFC even knows what to do because they got so many guys in the division.
I know. I love it. If you're a fan, this is a great time to be alive, brother.